Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, PattSun, and today we're gonna be taking a look at r/infidelity, where OP caught his girlfriend's affair with his good friend. Let's begin. My wife admitted to fantasizing about her ex after he assaulted a man who insulted her. Posted by Reddit user Virgil737.
My wife and I have been together for 3 years now. Before I met her, she was in a relationship with a guy, we'll call him Henry, for a couple of years. Part of the reason they broke up was because Henry was irresponsible with money, impulsive, and didn't want to commit to a stable relationship at that point. They parted on good terms, and she said she was still in love with him when they split.
Red flag!
I met her, and she said she's attracted to me for all the things Henry lacked. I got my degree, got a good engineering job with stability and benefits, already owned my own property when I met her and was ready to marry fairly quickly. Though she does not keep in touch with Henry, they still follow each other on social media and have mutual friends.
Is that also a red flag?
Crimson.
I've met him a few times before at wider social events. He's more of a joker, outspoken, cocky, and in my mind very unlikable. It upsets me that she could ever have loved someone so arrogant and disrespectful. Recently, my wife and I attended a friend's wedding where Henry was also present with his girlfriend. After the reception, the bride and groom departed and a few of us decided to keep the night going at a local bar. When we arrived, there were a few rowdy drinkers there already. At one point, one of the men bumped into my wife, who was returning from the bar with me, and spilled some of his beer on the floor. He turned and said, "Watch where you're going, you fucking cunt." At this point I said, "Hey man, come on, there's no need for that," and he told me to fuck off. I figured, this guy could have a knife or anything. He has a buddy. I'm not about to get stabbed or jumped by escalating things. I've always been taught to de-escalate things and prioritize safety over everything. So, being responsible, I returned to the table with her.
Like a little bitch.
When we sat down, Henry could tell we were a bit shaken and asked what happened. My wife told him. Right away he stood up, walked over to the guy, and punched him square in the face, which knocked him to the ground. He grabbed him by the collar and punched him again, then told him to apologize. The guy was shouting and swearing, but after the second punch, shouted an apology in our direction. Then others split them up, and Henry left, with our group following him. When we got home, my wife was quiet and we went to sleep. Since then, over the last few weeks, she's been more distant and rejecting my sexual advances. She slept with me once, but was clearly absent. Finally, I confronted her and she tearfully admitted to having sexual thoughts about Henry, which she tried to fight but ended up masturbating twice to him. She feels incredibly guilty, which is why she confessed everything. She said she hasn't spoken to him since that evening except for a Facebook message to thank him for standing up for her. I've seen the messages and believed her, and believe she feels guilty and ashamed. But I can't help but feel I've been cheated on, and that she's lost respect for me. What's more, I feel like even though I did the right thing, I fucked up that night in her eyes and she lost respect for me. What am I supposed to do in this situation? Edit. For those of you immediately assuming my wife doesn't love me and is just using me for a meal ticket. We have our own love story. 3 years. Dates. Making her laugh. First kisses. Sleeping together. Falling in love. Holidays. Triumphs celebrated. Rough times. Losses. Bereavements. Dancing together in the kitchen. Having movie nights, singing on drives together, proposal, marriage, plans for the future. She made me an anniversary gift, a jar with 50 things she loves about me handwritten on little notes. She's educated, professionally successful, she goes to church, family-oriented. We've been there for each other. She loves me. That's why she felt so guilty about this.
Oh man, I definitely agree with your wife here, OP. Yes, she did lose some respect for you, if not all of it. Look man, I understand where you're coming from. De-escalating the situation is the right reaction for most situations. But if a drunk asshole disrespects your wife right in front of you, you're supposed to fuck him up, not walk away like a fucking weakling. That is your duty to her as her husband. That is your duty to yourself as a man. That is your wife, dude. Why aren't you defending her? Henry did a much better job than you, and I won't be surprised at all if you become single very soon. And now for today's second story. I found out my girlfriend of 5 years has been sleeping with my friend from high school, but I feel nothing. Am I broken? Posted by Reddit user Silent Performance.
I had been dating my girlfriend, Ashley, for 5 years. We met back in 2018. I remember the day vividly. I was coming home from work as a traffic controller when I came up behind a car that was sitting at a green light. I, of course, was tired and irritated from work, so I honked my horn and yelled for the driver to move. The driver waved their hands out her window. I got out of my truck to see what was going on. The driver, Ashley, was in tears, saying that her car ran out of gas and didn't know where the nearest gas station was located. Since I lived nearby, I knew the nearest gas station was nearly 2 miles away. I offered to help her, and she happily accepted. I pushed her car off to the side of the road to prevent any accidents. Since she didn't have a fuel canister, I drove her to the nearest gas station and filled the gas canister I had stored in my work truck. After putting gas in her car and helping her get to the gas station to finish fueling up her car, we exchanged phone numbers. After that day, Ashley and I started calling and texting each other. We connected and got along so well, which led us to eventually dating. My parents loved her, and her parents loved me. We loved the same anime music, and even the same taste in cars. We rented a small apartment together and lived together ever since. Every Saturday night, we would change into our favorite pajamas and watch some Bleach, My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer, or One Piece. That was our anime night.
Nerd!
I loved her so much that I was planning on proposing to her. Last year, my friend from high school, Tony, moved back to town after he divorced his wife. The first night he came back, we decided to crack open a few beers and reconnect after not seeing each other for 15 years. I told him to stay the night, since he was too drunk to drive. A week after that night, Ashley seemed different and not like her usual self. Instead of having anime night, she would rather go out with her friends and have a girls' night or go help her parents or something along those lines. Sex became less passionate and seemed more like a chore for her. She even stopped saying I love you before I left for work in the morning. Tony even stopped talking to me, even though we were good friends. It seemed strange, but I didn't think too much of it. That is until last week. The job site had to be shut down early for the day due to heavy rain. When I got home, I saw Tony's car parked out front. I thought Tony was waiting for me to get home, so we could hang out. I walked inside to find Tony on the couch, while Ashley was naked and riding him. At that moment, it was like my brain had shut off all emotions inside my head. I felt no anger, no sadness, no hatred, no heartbreak. Nothing. I was numb. I stood there for about 10 seconds before they noticed me. Ashley freaked out, while Tony grabbed his shirt and ran off. Ashley kept crying and saying that it was not what it seemed, that it was a mistake, and that she's sorry. I simply packed my stuff and left the apartment. The only thing I said to Ashley was an emotionless goodbye before leaving. I called my dad and told him what happened. I also asked if I could stay with him for a bit and he let me move into his house. I'll keep you updated on anything in the future. As of now, it has been 5 days since that event, and I still feel nothing. No emotions, just numb. Am I broken? And now for OP's update. Here is an update on the situation. I've finally started to smile and laugh again. I've contacted my landlord and explained the situation. He told me not to worry and that I will be getting 100% of my deposit and her deposit. Any damages to the apartment will be taken out of her portion of the deposit. I contacted Ashley's parents and told them the situation. They were shocked and disgusted that their daughter could commit such a disgraceful act. They wanted me to forgive them for what their daughter did. I said that they don't need forgiveness since they didn't break my heart. I blocked Ashley and Tony on my phone and all my media accounts. My mom was sad upon hearing the events of what happened. My father was furious because he liked Tony a lot. I don't think I can repeat what he said due to the graphic nature of his words. I'm slowly getting my life back on track. I'm focusing more on my family and my job. My mother asked me if I would ever join the dating scene again. I didn't want to yell at her for asking such a question, so I simply told her that I'll think about it in a few months.
And then, we have this comment exchange between OP and a few other Reddit users.
I'm happy you've smiled and taken care of business. Has she tried to reach out to you at all? Maybe she's moved APN. Your mood will get better, don't worry, you'll be fine. When you feel down, come shout us, we'll be here for you. Update me. They blew up my phone until I blocked them. Most of the messages were from Ashley. She kept telling me that she was sorry and that she didn't mean to do it, and she wanted to work things out. Tony kept saying that he was sorry, but then he went into anger mode by saying that I didn't deserve a girl like her. He is right though. I didn't deserve a GF who would break my heart and a friend that would stab me in the back. It may not seem this way, OP, but your life will be infinitely better for this. Sometimes things happen in our lives for a reason, and whether we think in terms of karma, etc., the reality is that it's better to have found this out now than in years down the track when your lives would have been much more complicated. Your friend was right in a way. You didn't deserve a girl like her. You actually deserve so much more and better than she could ever have been. And for him, well, the less said the better. The only wishes that anyone can give you now is that you look forward to a future life where you find that happiness again, but not only that, but that you find a better and a purer happiness. Whether it is by yourself or with someone by your side is up to you, but for me, I think you will kick this goal and live a happy and fruitful life. The other wish is that these two people never ever enter your life again. To make sure of this, blot them everywhere, get rid of everything that reminds you of him and her and erase them from your existence. Everything down to the last pic and photo goes to silicon hell or into the bin for garbage collection. I did this many years ago, and I did such a thorough job that I even eventually forgot what she and him looked like. I could have passed them in the street 1,000 times and I would have been none the wiser. I suggest that you do this as well.
Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my channels for you to watch absolutely free. So please consider subscribing to me on Rumble and on YouTube. Both will be linked in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, consider subscribing to PattSun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.